Justin Tucker's life changed forever the moment Zarthax's will was read. As Earth's young diplomat sat in the Galactic Council chamber, he never imagined he'd become the owner of a sentient being, let alone a Ladosian princess who despised humans. The emergency session buzzed with tension. Alien representatives from across the galaxy packed the vast hall, their diverse forms a testament to the cosmic diversity Zarthax had cherished in his infamous collection. Justin's palms grew sweaty as he listened to the droning voice of the Council's executor. And to Justin Tucker of Earth, I bequeath my most prized possession, Princess Tara of Ladosia. A collective gasp rippled through the assembly. Justin's head snapped up, his eyes widening in disbelief. Before he could process the words, a commotion erupted near the chamber's center. "I refuse!" A voice like chiming crystals rang out, filled with fury. "I will not be owned by a primitive human." Justin's gaze locked onto the source, a breathtaking alien female with iridescent scales and eyes of swirling violet. Princess Tara lunged forward, her lithe form radiating murderous intent. Security drones materialized instantly, restraining her with crackling energy fields. The Ladosian delegation erupted in outrage, demanding Tara's immediate return. Their ambassador, a towering figure with elaborately patterned scales, turned to Justin with barely contained rage. "This is an outrage. The princess holds vital state secrets. Her presence on Earth could jeopardize galactic security." Justin's mind raced. He'd heard whispers of a potential Ladosian invasion of Earth. Could Tara be the key to preventing it? The weight of his unexpected inheritance pressed down on him like a physical force. The head of the Galactic Council, a being of pure energy contained within a hovering orb, pulsed with authority. "The will is binding under interstellar law. Justin Tucker is now Tara's legal guardian. For the sake of galactic stability, they must depart for Earth immediately." Protests filled the chamber, but Justin knew his duty. He stood facing the hostile alien princess. "I accept the responsibility," he declared, his voice steadier than he felt. As preparations for their departure began, a cloaked figure brushed past Justin, whispering urgently, "Beware, Ladosian assassins will stop at nothing to silence her." Heart-pounding, Justin boarded the secure transport vessel, flanked by a wary security detail. Tara glared at him from across the cabin, her hatred palpable. As the ship's engines hummed to life, a warning blared through the cockpit. Long-range scanners detect a Ladosian pursuit vessel on an intercept course. Justin's grip tightened on his seat restraints. Their journey to Earth and his crash course in intergalactic politics had only just begun. The warning blared through the cockpit as Justin's grip tightened on his seat restraints. Their journey to Earth and his crash course in intergalactic politics had only just begun. "Evasive maneuvers," shouted the pilot, his hands flying across the control panel. The transport vessel lurched sideways, narrowly avoiding a burst of energy from the pursuing Ladosian ship. Justin's stomach churned as artificial gravity struggled to compensate for the sudden movement. He glanced at Tara, who sat rigid in her seat, her iridescent scales shimmering with each twist and turn of the ship. Chaos erupted as the Ladosian vessel unleashed a barrage of weapons fire. The human security detail scrambled to defensive positions, their faces etched with concern as they realized the superiority of the alien technology. "Our shields can't withstand this level of firepower," one of the guards yelled over the din of alarms and explosions. Justin unbuckled his restraints and made his way towards Tara, bracing himself against the wall as the ship shuddered under another impact. "Princess Tara," he said, his voice steady despite the fear coursing through him. "I know you hate this situation, but we need to work together if we're going to survive." Tara's violet eyes narrowed. "Why should I trust you, human?" "Because I have no intention of treating you as property," Justin replied, ducking as sparks flew from a nearby console. "Zarthax's will may have made me your guardian, but I want us to be allies. Your knowledge could be crucial in preventing an invasion of Earth." Tara hesitated, her expression conflicted. Another blast rocked the ship and she gritted her teeth. "Fine. For now, we cooperate. But this changes nothing between us." Justin nodded, relief washing over him. He turned to the pilot, who was struggling to maintain control of the vessel. "Let me take over navigation. I have an idea." The pilot looked skeptical, but relinquished his seat. Justin slid into position, his hands hovering over the unfamiliar controls. He took a deep breath, recalling the unconventional flight simulations he'd run during diplomatic training exercises. "Hold on tight," he warned, before executing a series of rapid, unpredictable maneuvers. The ship dove and twisted, defying the expected flight patterns of a standard evasion protocol. Justin's unorthodox approach caught the Ladosian pursuers off guard, buying them precious moments to regroup. Tara watched Justin with growing curiosity, her initial disdain giving way to grudging respect. "Your piloting skills are unexpected for a diplomat," she remarked. Before Justin could respond, a violent tremor shook the ship. Warning lights flashed across the control panel as systems began to fail. "Artificial gravity malfunctioning," a crew member shouted. Suddenly, the familiar pull of gravity vanished. Justin and Tara found themselves floating, their bodies drifting towards each other in the confined space of the cockpit. For a moment, they were face to face, close enough to feel each other's breath. Justin's heart raced, acutely aware of Tara's otherworldly beauty and the unexpected intimacy of their position. Tara's eyes widened, a flicker of something beyond hostility passing through them. The tension between them shifted, charged with a new and unfamiliar energy. The moment shattered as a direct hit from the Ladosian ship sent them tumbling. Justin grabbed a nearby handhold, pulling himself back to the controls. "We've lost main engines," he shouted, frantically trying to reroute power. Tara steadied herself against a bulkhead. "The invasion," she said, her voice low and urgent. "You need to know about the cloaking technology. Our fleet has been gathering near Jupiter, hidden from your sensors." Justin's mind raced, processing the implications of this information. But before he could respond, the ship lurched violently, caught in the gravitational pull of a nearby planet. "Brace for impact!" Justin yelled as the transport plummeted towards the alien world's surface. The crash landing was a blur of noise and motion. When the dust settled, Justin found himself lying in a tangle of vegetation, the ship's wreckage scattered around him. He staggered to his feet, surveying the alien jungle that surrounded them. "Tara?" he called out, panic rising in his throat. "Here," came a weak reply. Justin rushed to her side, helping her up. Tara's usually vibrant scales seemed dull, her movements sluggish. "The atmosphere," she gasped. "It's affecting me. My natural defenses." Justin scanned their surroundings, realizing they were alone. The rest of the crew was nowhere in sight. "We need to find shelter and assess our situation," he said, supporting Tara as they moved away from the crash site. As they ventured deeper into the alien jungle, strange calls echoed around them. Bioluminescent plants cast an eerie glow, revealing glimpses of unfamiliar creatures darting through the undergrowth. "Why did you tell me about the invasion plans?" Justin asked as they paused to rest against a large trunk-like structure. Tara met his gaze, her expression conflicted. "Because despite everything, I don't want to see your world destroyed. And because perhaps I misjudged you." Justin Tucker. As night fell on the alien world, they found refuge in a shallow cave. Huddled together for warmth, Justin felt the barriers between them starting to crumble. Tara's vulnerability in this strange environment and their shared ordeal had forged an unexpected connection. "There's something you should know," Tara said softly. "My hatred for humans, it wasn't always so strong. There was an incident years ago with a human traitor. The damage he caused, it colored my perception of your entire species." Justin listened intently, beginning to understand the complex layers of Tara's animosity. As she spoke, he found himself drawn closer to her, both physically and emotionally. In the darkness of the alien night, surrounded by the sounds of unknown creatures, Justin and Tara faced an uncertain future. But in that moment, a fragile trust had begun to form between them, a trust that would be tested in the challenges that lay ahead. As the alien sun crept over the horizon, casting an otherworldly glow through the dense foliage, Justin and Tara emerged from their cave shelter. The night's closeness had softened the sharp edges of Tara's hostility, and as they set out to search for a way to contact Earth, she began to open up. "Our technology is based on crystalline matrices," Tara explained, her violet eyes scanning the jungle for familiar plant structures. We can manipulate energy fields in ways your scientists have only dreamed of. Justin listened intently, filing away every detail. That's fascinating. How does it compare to the cloaking technology you mentioned? As they talked, Justin found himself captivated not just by the information, but by Tara herself. Her iridescent scales shimmered in the dappled sunlight, and her voice held a melodic quality that made even the most technical explanations sound like poetry. Their conversation was cut short as they approached a deep ravine. The ground beneath their feet crumbled away, sending them sliding down the steep incline. Justin's hand shot out, grabbing a protruding root while his other arm wrapped around Tara's waist. For a moment, they dangled precariously over the chasm. Justin's muscles strained as he held them both, searching for a foothold. Tara's body pressed against his, her scales cool against his skin. "There," Tara pointed, her breath warm against his ear. "A ledge to your right." With a grunt of effort, Justin swung them towards the narrow outcropping. They scrambled onto solid ground, panting from the exertion and the rush of adrenaline. As they caught their breath, something metallic glinted in the ravine below. Justin squinted, trying to make out the shape. "Is that a spacecraft?" Tara's eyes widened. "It appears to be an ancient Zoxian vessel. Their communication technology was primitive by our standards, but it might be compatible with Earth systems." They carefully made their way down to the crash site, hope rising with each step. However, as they drew closer, a cacophony of alien shrieks filled the air. Predatory creatures, drawn by the ship's decaying power source, circled the wreckage. Justin's mind raced, assessing their options. "The communication array is our best chance, but those creatures?" Tara nodded, her expression determined. "We need a diversion. The power cells. If we can overload them, the energy discharge should draw the predators away." "It's risky," Justin said, studying the ship's exposed circuitry. "We'll need perfect timing." They formulated a plan, Justin's quick thinking complementing Tara's technical knowledge. As they prepared, Justin couldn't help but admire Tara's focus and ingenuity. She was so much more than the angry princess he'd first encountered. With a shared nod, they sprang into action. Justin darted towards the power core, using his agility to dodge snapping jaws and razor-sharp claws. Tara's fingers flew over the communication array, coaxing life into the ancient circuits. Just as a massive creature lunged at Justin, he yanked the final power cell free. The resulting energy surge lit up the ravine like a supernova. Screeching in confusion, the predators scattered. Justin sprinted back to Tara, his heart pounding. "How's it looking?" "I've established a weak signal," Tara replied, her brow furrowed in concentration. "It's not much, but if there's a ship passing nearby..." A bone-shaking roar cut her off. From the depths of the jungle emerged a behemoth that dwarfed the other predators. Its reptilian body was covered in chitinous plates, and venom dripped from barbed appendages. "The apex predator," Tara breathed, fear evident in her voice. The creature charged, its massive bulk defying its speed. Justin shoved Tara aside, crying out as one of the venomous barbs grazed his arm. He stumbled, his vision blurring. "Justin!" Tara's voice seemed to come from far away. He felt her cool hands on his face, saw the worry in her swirling violet eyes. Through the haze of pain, Justin watched as Tara darted around the clearing, gathering plants with swift, sure movements. Her knowledge of alien biology allowed her to quickly synthesize an antidote, which she applied to his wound with gentle hands. As the venom's effects faded, Justin became acutely aware of Tara's closeness. Her scales brushed against his skin, sending shivers down his spine that had nothing to do with his injury. A familiar hum filled the air, the sound of approaching engines. They looked up to see a battered Earth trade ship descending towards them, the communication array's weak signal having reached its sensors. As the ship landed, a gruff-looking human emerged. "I'm Captain Hank Morrow," he announced, eyeing Tara suspiciously. "We picked up your distress call. What's a human doing out here with a Ladosian?" Justin struggled to his feet, placing himself protectively in front of Tara. "It's a long story, Captain, but I can assure you, Princess Tara is not a threat. She saved my life." Hank's eyebrows shot up at the word princess, but he nodded curtly. "All right, both of you, on board. But I want a full explanation. once we're in orbit. As they settled into the trade ship's small medical bay, Justin and Tara exchanged worried glances. The ship's communication officer brought them up to speed on the escalating tensions between Earth and Laodicea. "We're 3 days out from Earth at top speed," Captain Morrow informed them, "and it looks like we're racing against the clock to prevent a war." Justin's mind whirled with the implications. He looked at Tara, seeing his own tenacity reflected in her eyes. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. Unnoticed by the group, a nondescript crew member slipped away from the gathered crowd. In the privacy of a maintenance closet, the human features melted away, revealing the true form of Zix, the Laodician shapeshifter. With deft movements, Zix began to sabotage the ship's systems, setting in motion a plan that would have far-reaching consequences for both Earth and Laodicea. With a final glance at the unsuspecting crew, Zix slipped out of the maintenance closet and began the next phase of their sabotage plan. The trade ship shuddered, its engines sputtering as it pushed through the vastness of space. Justin, still recovering from his encounter with the alien predator, sat beside Tara in the medical bay. Captain Morrow paced nearby, his weathered face creased with concern. "Something's not right," Morrow muttered, tapping at a control panel. "These readings don't make sense." As if on cue, alarms blared throughout the ship. Red warning lights bathed the corridors in an ominous glow. Justin leapt to his feet, wincing as pain shot through his injured arm. "Life support systems failing," a panicked voice crackled over the intercom. "All non-essential personnel, evacuate to emergency pods immediately." Chaos erupted as crew members rushed to the escape pods. Justin grabbed Tara's hand, pulling her towards the bridge. "We need to find out what's happening," he said, his voice tight with urgency. They arrived to find Captain Morrow barking orders to the skeleton crew that remained. Screens flickered with cascading error messages, and the acrid smell of burning electronics filled the air. "Oxygen recyclers are offline," a technician reported, her fingers flying over a keyboard. "We've got maybe 2 hours of breathable air left." Justin's mind raced, analyzing the problem. He turned to Tara, an idea forming. "Your crystalline matrices, could they be used to filter and recycle our air?" Tara's violet eyes widened. "Theoretically, yes, but we'd need to integrate them with your system somehow." "Then let's do it," Justin said, already moving towards the engineering bay. "Captain, we need every spare part you've got." For the next hour, Justin and Tara worked feverishly, combining Earth technology with Laodician ingenuity. Justin's hands flew over wires and circuits, while Tara manipulated her alien crystals with precision. Their bodies moved in sync, anticipating each other's needs without words. Finally, Justin connected the last wire. The makeshift recycler hummed to life, its status light blinking green. A cheer went up from the remaining crew as fresh air began to circulate through the ship. In the quiet aftermath, Justin and Tara found themselves alone in a corner of the engine room. Sweat glistened on their skin, and the adrenaline of their shared victory pulsed between them. "That was impressive," Tara said softly, her scales shimmering in the low light. "I've never seen a human work like that before." Justin stepped closer, drawn by an invisible force. "We make a good team," he murmured. Tara's gaze dropped, a shadow passing over her face. "Justin, there's something I need to tell you about why I hated humans for so long." She spoke haltingly at first, then with growing confidence as Justin listened without judgment. She told him of the human traffickers who had tried to kidnap her years ago, of the fear and anger that had poisoned her view of his entire species. Justin shared his own stories of loss and prejudice, of the challenges he'd faced as a diplomat trying to bridge the gap between worlds. As they talked, the distance between them seemed to vanish. Their eyes met, and suddenly the tension that had been building since their crash landing reached a breaking point. Justin leaned in, his lips meeting Tara's in a passionate kiss. Her scales were cool against his skin, sending shivers down his spine. Their moment of intimacy was shattered by the ship-wide intercom. "All hands to the bridge," Captain Morrow's voice boomed. "We've got a saboteur on board." Justin and Tara exchanged alarmed glances before racing to the bridge. They arrived to find Morrow grappling with a crew member whose features were melting away to reveal the true form of Zix, the Laodician shapeshifter. Zix broke free, lunging for the navigation controls. "You won't stop the invasion," he snarled. Justin tackled him, and they crashed to the floor. As they struggled, Zix's words spilled out, revealing crucial details about the Ladosian fleet's position near Jupiter. Tara stood frozen, her loyalties warring within her. Then, with a decisive motion, she grabbed Zix's communication device. Her fingers flew over the alien controls, inputting her royal override codes. "What are you doing?" Justin asked, pinning Zix to the ground. "Saving both our worlds," Tara replied, her voice steady. With a final keystroke, she broadcast the invasion plans to both Earth's defense forces and the Ladosian fleet. The bridge fell silent as the implications of her actions sank in. Captain Morrow was the first to speak. "Well, Princess," he said gruffly, "looks like you've just changed the course of history." As they secured Zix and assessed the damage to the ship, alerts began popping up on the communication screens. Earth's defense forces were mobilizing, while the Ladosian fleet's carefully orchestrated plans dissolved into confusion. Justin moved to stand beside Tara, their hands finding each other instinctively. "What happens now?" he asked quietly. Tara's grip tightened on his hand. "Now," she said, her eyes fixed on the approaching outline of Earth's solar system, "we fight for peace." Peace. The journey to Earth was tense, filled with urgent preparations and strategy meetings. As they approached the planet, Justin and Tara's fingers remained intertwined, drawing strength from each other. The neutral space station loomed before them, a gleaming beacon of hope amid the stars. Captain Morrow's ship docked smoothly, and the unlikely trio made their way to the conference hall. Justin's heart raced as he looked at Tara, her scales shimmering under the station's lights. "Ready?" he asked softly. Tara nodded, her violet eyes filled with willpower. Together. The conference hall buzzed with activity as delegates from Earth and Ladosia gathered. Justin and Tara took center stage, their presence silencing the crowd. Justin cleared his throat and began their presentation, his voice steady and clear. "Esteemed delegates, we stand before you not just as representatives of our respective worlds, but as living proof that cooperation between humans and Ladosians is possible." Tara stepped forward, her regal bearing commanding attention. "Our journey began with mistrust and prejudice, but through shared adversity and understanding, we discovered a path to unity." As they recounted their experiences, from the crash landing to their combined efforts in averting disaster, the audience listened with rapt attention. Many delegates nodded, clearly moved by their story. Suddenly, a harsh voice cut through the air. "Lies and manipulation." Senator Marcus Graves stood up, his face contorted with anger. "This Ladosian princess has clearly bewitched the human diplomat. I demand her immediate arrest." Chaos erupted in the hall as Graves' supporters shouted their agreement. Justin moved protectively in front of Tara, his eyes scanning the crowd for potential threats. In that moment of confusion, the lights flickered and died, plunging the station into darkness. Screams and shouts filled the air as panic spread through the attendees. Justin felt a rush of air beside him and instinctively ducked. A blade whistled past his ear, missing him by inches. In the dim emergency lighting, he caught a glimpse of a figure in a maintenance uniform lunging towards Tara. "Tara, watch out!" Justin yelled, tackling the assailant. They hit the ground hard, grappling in the semi-darkness. Justin's diplomatic training hadn't prepared him for this kind of combat, but his recent experiences had honed his reflexes. A familiar voice rang out nearby. "I've got your back, kid!" Captain Morrow joined the fray, his fist connecting solidly with the attacker's jaw. As they struggled, Tara's voice cut through the chaos. "Enough!" A brilliant light flared, momentarily blinding everyone in the vicinity. When Justin's vision cleared, he saw Tara standing tall, a Ladosian energy device humming in her hand. The assassin lay motionless at their feet, incapacitated by the energy pulse. The main lights flickered back to life, revealing the scene to the shocked conference attendees. Security forces rushed in, quickly securing the assassin. "This is Krelzar," one of the Ladosian delegates gasped, "a notorious operative of our military's extremist faction." Under questioning, Krelzar sneered at the assembled delegates. "You fools! The invasion plans are already in motion. No amount of talking will stop it now." This revelation sent shockwaves through the conference. Earth delegates called for immediate military action, while Ladosian representatives argued amongst themselves. Senator Graves seized the moment, his voice rising above the din. "We must strike now. Destroy the Ladosian fleet before they can attack." Justin stepped forward, his mind racing. "No, more violence isn't the answer. We need a joint task force, humans and Ladosians working together to stop this rogue faction." Tara moved to stand beside him, her presence silencing the crowd once more. "I volunteer to lead this task force myself. I will stand against my own people if it means preserving peace." Murmurs of approval spread through the hall. Captain Morrow stepped up, his gruff voice carrying authority. "My ship and crew are at your disposal. We've seen firsthand what humans and Ladosians can accomplish together." As the delegates debated, an urgent message came through. Ladosian ships had been detected entering the solar system. The conference erupted into frenzied activity as they rushed to formalize the joint task force. In the midst of the commotion, Justin and Tara found themselves alone for a moment. The stress of the day and the triumph of their unity overwhelmed them. Justin pulled Tara close, their lips meeting in a passionate kiss. Her scales were cool against his skin, a reminder of their differences and the strength they found in them. Their intimate moment was cut short by the blaring of alarms. Captain Morrow's voice crackled over the intercom. "We've got trouble. Senator Graves has commandeered a fleet and is headed to intercept the Ladosian ships." Justin and Tara exchanged a determined look. Without a word, they raced towards the docking bay, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. As they boarded Captain Morrow's ship, reports came in of the hardline Ladosian faction launching their invasion force early. The bridge hummed with tension as they prepared for departure. Justin and Tara stood side by side, their hands clasped tightly. Before them, the vastness of space beckoned, holding both promise and peril. The fate of two worlds now rested on their shoulders, and the real test of their love and leadership was about to begin. The task force ship accelerated towards the unfolding conflict, its engines humming with scarcely controlled power. On the bridge, Justin and Tara stood shoulder to shoulder, their faces illuminated by the flickering lights of distant weapons fire. "We're entering the combat zone," Captain Morrow announced, his weathered hands gripping the ship's controls. "Brace yourselves." The viewport filled with chaos. Earth and Ladosian ships circled each other in a deadly dance, energy beams and missiles crisscrossing the void. At the center of it all, Senator Graves's rogue fleet engaged the advancing Ladosian invasion force. Justin's eyebrows furrowed as he surveyed the scene. "We need to stop this before it escalates further," he said, turning to Tara. "Are you ready?" She nodded, her violet eyes reflecting the persistence in his own. Together they moved to the communications array. Justin's fingers flew over the controls, establishing a connection to all ships in the area. "This is Justin Riker and Princess Tara of Ladosia," he began, his voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. "We implore all sides to cease fire immediately." Tara leaned in, her scales shimmering under the harsh bridge lights. "What you've been told about Earth and Ladosia is a lie. We've uncovered evidence of manipulation by extremist factions on both sides." As they spoke, sharing their journey from mistrust to understanding, the intensity of the battle began to wane. Some ships powered down their weapons, crews listening intently to the unexpected message of unity. But not everyone was swayed. Senator Graves's flagship suddenly veered towards them, weapons charging. "Traitors!" his voice boomed over the comms. "You'll not deny us our victory." At the same moment, a massive Ladosian warship surged forward. Its commander, General Krelzar, snarled, "The human lovers will not halt our glorious conquest." Captain Morrow cursed, his hands dancing over the controls. The task force ship rolled and juked, barely avoiding the barrage of fire from both directions. Alarms blared as their shields took hit after hit. "Shields at 60% and dropping," a technician called out. "We can't take much more of this." Justin's mind raced, analyzing their options. His eyes fell on a panel marked Experimental Systems, and an audacious plan formed. "Captain," he said urgently, "the teleportation technology we reverse-engineered from Ladosian tech, could we use it to board their ships?" Morrow's eyes widened. "It's never been tested at this range. The risk of molecular dissolution is..." Hi, I know, Justin cut in. But if we can capture Graves and Krelzar, we might be able to end this. Tara gripped his arm, her face a mixture of concern and perseverance. It's too dangerous. There has to be another way. Justin covered her hand with his own. There isn't time, but we'll do it together. You take Krelzar's ship. I'll handle Graves. For a moment, Tara hesitated. Then, with a quick nod, she squared her shoulders. All right, let's end this. They moved swiftly to the teleportation chamber, joined by a small team of Earth and Ladosian operatives. As the technicians calibrated the system, Justin and Tara shared a final, fierce embrace. Stay safe, Justin murmured against her skin. You too, Tara replied, her voice barely above a whisper. The chamber hummed to life, energy crackling around them. Justin felt a wrenching sensation, as if his very atoms were being pulled apart. Then, in a flash of light, he materialized on the bridge of Graves's ship. Chaos erupted immediately. Justin's team moved with practiced efficiency, stunning the Senator's guards before they could react. Graves himself lunged for a weapon, but Justin was faster. He tackled the older man, pinning him to the deck. It's over, Senator, Justin said, securing Graves's hands behind his back. Your warmongering ends now. With Graves subdued, Justin accessed the ship's communication system. He quickly broadcast proof of the Senator's treachery, intercepted messages, financial records showing his ties to arms manufacturers who stood to profit from war. As the Earth fleet received this damning evidence, their attacks faltered. Ships began to power down their weapons, crews realizing they'd been manipulated into this conflict. But Justin's relief was short-lived. A priority message from Captain Morrow cut through the comm chatter. Riker, the princess is in trouble. On the Ladosian flagship, Tara found herself in a desperate struggle. General Krelzar, anticipating their strategy, had set a trap. The teleportation beam deposited Tara and her team directly into a shielded holding area. Krelzar's laughter echoed through the chamber as he approached, flanked by heavily armed guards. Did you really think it would be so easy, little princess? He sneered. Tara's mind raced, assessing her options. The general had underestimated her, assuming her royal upbringing made her soft. He didn't know about the combat training she'd undergone in secret, preparing for a day she hoped would never come. In a blur of motion, Tara struck. Her fist connected with Krelzar's jaw, sending him staggering backward. She spun, disarming one guard and using him as a shield against the others. The fight was brutal and swift. Tara moved with fluid grace, her royal combat training augmented by the survival skills she'd honed during her time with Justin. She dodged energy blasts, used her opponent's strength against them, and steadily worked her way through Krelzar's defenses. Finally, she stood over the general, his own weapon pointed at his chest. Stand down, Tara commanded, her voice ringing with authority. This invasion is over. Using the ship's systems, she broadcast her victory to the Ladosian fleet. Seeing their leader captured, the remaining hardliners began to stand down. As the fighting subsided, a new alarm blared through both captured ships. Justin and Tara's comlinks crackled to life with Captain Morrow's urgent voice. The teleportation system is destabilizing. It's causing a cascade reaction in our engines. If we can't shut it down, the explosion could reignite the whole damn war. Justin and Tara exchanged alarmed glances across the vastness of space, each knowing what they had to do. They had minutes, perhaps less, to find a way back to their ship and prevent disaster. As they raced against time, the fate of two worlds hung in the balance. The peace they'd fought so hard to achieve teetered on the edge of destruction. With enemies on all sides and a ticking time bomb at their backs, Justin and Tara faced their greatest challenge yet. The task force ship's engines glowed ominously. The experimental technology pushed far beyond its limits. In the midst of former enemies and newfound allies, the two lovers prepared to make their final, desperate move. Move! The clock was ticking, and they had to act fast. Justin's voice crackled over the comm system, his words infused with urgency. Captain Morrow, hold on! We're coming for you! Aboard Senator Graves's ship, Justin's mind raced. He turned to the Earth Fleet's commanders, who were still reeling from the revelation of Graves's treachery. Listen up, Justin said, his voice carrying the weight of command. We need to form a protective barrier around the task force ship. Use your combined shield strength to contain any potential explosion. The Earth commanders nodded, quickly relaying orders to their ships. As the fleet maneuvered into position, Justin's gaze remained fixed on the task force ship, its engines glowing an ominous, unstable red. Meanwhile, on the Ladosian flagship, Tara sprang into action. She raced through the corridors, her scales shimmering under the harsh lights as she made her way to the engineering bay. The ship's crew, still stunned by her takedown of General Krelzar, parted before her. Tara's fingers flew over the control panel, inputting her royal access codes. "Activate long-range tractor beam," she ordered, her voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins. The ship's computer chirped in acknowledgement, and a low hum filled the air as the tractor beam powered up. Tara watched the view screen intently, seeing the invisible beam of energy reach out towards the unstable task force vessel. "All Ladosian ships," Tara broadcast, her royal authority evident in every word. "Move into supporting positions. We must stabilize that ship at all costs." As both fleets worked in unison, Captain Morrow and his skeleton crew fought a desperate battle against failing systems. Sweat beaded on Morrow's forehead as he rerouted power, his years of experience the only thing standing between them and disaster. "Engines at critical levels," a crewman called out, fear evident in his voice. Morrow gritted his teeth. "Reroute life support from decks 4 through 7. We don't need it there anyway." Back on Graves's ship, Justin received an incoming transmission. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, the Earth Fleet's lead scientist, appeared on screen. "Mr. Riker," she said, her voice tense, "I have the latest research on the experimental teleportation technology. It might help." Justin nodded. "Transmit it to the Ladosian flagship immediately." As the data streamed across space, Tara coordinated with the Ladosian engineers. They worked feverishly, adapting their own teleportation systems to integrate the new information. "We're ready," Tara announced, her eyes meeting Justin's across the vast distance separating their ships. Justin took a deep breath. "Do it." The modified Ladosian teleporters hummed to life. Justin felt the familiar wrenching sensation as his atoms were pulled apart and reassembled. In a flash of light, he materialized on the Ladosian flagship, along with the Earth hostages from Graves's ship. As soon as his feet touched the deck, Justin was moving. He and Tara raced to the science bay, where a joint team of human and Ladosian scientists had already gathered. "We need to stabilize that reactor," Justin said, his eyes scanning the data scrolling across multiple screens. Tara nodded, her mind working in tandem with his. "If we combine your energy-dampening fields with our tractor beam technology, we could contain and disperse the energy," Justin finished. They quickly outlined the plan to the assembled team. Ships from both fleets took up precise positions around the task force vessel, their crews working with a unity that would have been unthinkable mere hours ago. As the combined technologies took effect, the reactor's energy signature began to diminish, but the process was agonizingly slow. "It's not enough," Tara said, her eyes fixed on the readouts. "We need more power." Suddenly, her eyes widened. "My ship," she said. "The royal vessel has advanced Ladosian tech. We could use it to boost the containment field." Justin met her gaze, understanding the risk immediately. Without a word, they moved as one towards the hangar bay. Moments later, they were aboard Tara's sleek royal ship, piloting it directly into the heart of the energy storm surrounding the task force vessel. Warning alarms blared as the ship's systems began to overload. Justin's hands flew over the controls, compensating for the turbulence. "Rerouting power to the main deflector," he called out. Tara nodded, her own movements perfectly synchronized with his. "Amplifying the containment field. Now!" The royal ship shuddered as it channeled enormous amounts of energy. Outside, the chaotic swirl of the reactor's discharge began to stabilize, drawn into a controlled vortex by their efforts. On the task force ship, Captain Morrow watched in awe as the reactor's readings finally began to normalize. "They did it," he breathed. As the immediate danger passed, Justin and Tara guided their damaged ship back to the Ladosian flagship. They docked to the sound of cheers from both human and Ladosian crews, the barriers between species seemingly forgotten in the wake of their shared victory. Exhausted but triumphant, Justin and Tara made their way to the observation deck. They stood in silence for a moment, watching as ships from both fleets began to intermingle, tentative first steps towards a new era of cooperation. Their moment of peace was interrupted by the arrival of Captain Morrow, his face grave despite their recent success. "You two better brace yourselves," he said. "I just got word from Earth. President Stone wants an immediate conference with you and the Ladosian leadership." Justin and Tara exchanged glances, the weight of what lay ahead settling on their shoulders. They had averted one crisis, but the real challenge was just beginning. As they prepared to face this new test, Justin reached out, taking Tara's hand in his own. Whatever came next, they would face it together. Together. The weight of their shared experiences, the trials they had overcome, and the challenges that lay ahead hung in the air between them. Justin squeezed Tara's hand gently, feeling the familiar texture of her scales against his skin. They exchanged a look of silent understanding, drawing strength from each other's presence. "Ready?" Justin asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Tara nodded, her eyes reflecting a mixture of willpower and apprehension. "As ready as we'll ever be." With a deep breath, they stepped forward, the doors to the conference room sliding open before them. The expansive chamber aboard the Ladosian flagship was filled with a palpable tension. At the center, a large circular table dominated the space, its surface alive with holographic displays. As Justin and Tara entered, hand in hand, the room fell silent. The flickering blue forms of President Stone and the Ladosian High Council materialized around the table, their expressions a mix of curiosity and caution. President Stone, a tall woman with steel-gray hair and piercing eyes, spoke first. "Mr. Riker, Princess Tara, your actions have averted a catastrophe, but they have also raised complicated questions." The lead counselor of the Ladosian High Council, an elderly figure with iridescent scales, nodded in agreement. "Indeed, the events of the past days have shaken the very foundations of our societies." Justin stepped forward, his voice clear and steady. "Madame President, honored counselors, what we've witnessed is not just a crisis averted, but an opportunity presented. The misunderstandings that led to this conflict are just that, misunderstandings." He gestured to the view screen behind him, which displayed images of Earth and Ladosian ships working in tandem to stabilize the task force vessel. "We've seen what we can accomplish when we work together. The potential for cooperation between our species is limitless." Tara moved to stand beside him, her royal bearing evident in her posture. "Our differences are not weaknesses to be feared, but strengths to be celebrated. The unique perspectives and abilities of our peoples, when combined, can lead to advancements beyond our wildest dreams." As they spoke, the doors to the conference room slid open once more. Senator Graves and General Krelzar were escorted in, their hands bound. The room tensed, old animosities threatening to resurface. But to everyone's surprise, Graves spoke up, his voice humbled. "Madame President, esteemed counselors, I was wrong. My actions were driven by fear and greed, and they nearly led to the destruction of both our worlds." Krelzar, his usual bravado absent, nodded in agreement. "As was I. Seeing these two," he gestured to Justin and Tara, "risk everything to save us all, it has opened my eyes to the possibilities of cooperation." A murmur ran through the assembled officials. President Stone leaned forward, her holographic form flickering slightly. "Are you saying you're willing to work towards peace?" Both Graves and Krelzar nodded, the fight gone out of them. The lead Ladosian counselor's scales shimmered as he considered this turn of events. Perhaps there is more common ground between us than we realized." President Stone's eyes narrowed in thought. After a moment of tense silence, she spoke. "What if we were to propose something more substantial than a simple peace treaty, an alliance between Earth and Ladosia?" The Ladosian counselors exchanged glances, their scaled features impossible for Justin to read. Finally, the lead counselor spoke. "We would need to consider such a proposal carefully, but we are not opposed to the idea." Justin felt a surge of hope in his chest. He looked at Tara, seeing the same emotion reflected in her eyes. They had opened a door, but the real work was just beginning. As the conference continued, Justin and Tara found themselves at the center of a whirlwind of diplomacy. They shared their experiences, answered questions, and painted a picture of a future where humans and Ladosians worked side by side. Hours passed, filled with intense debate and negotiation. As the meeting drew to a close, President Stone addressed Justin and Tara directly. "You two have become the face of this potential alliance. Are you prepared for what that means?" Justin and Tara exchanged a glance, a lifetime of understanding passing between them in an instant. They turned back to the assembled officials and spoke in unison. "We are." As they left the conference room, exhausted but filled with a sense of purpose, Justin and Tara knew their journey was not nearly finished. The path ahead would be challenging, but they were ready to face it together. The next few weeks passed in a blur of activity. Justin and Tara found themselves at the forefront of a massive diplomatic effort, traveling between Earth and Laodicea as they worked to build support for the Alliance. On Earth, they addressed the United Nations, sharing their story and vision for the future. Justin watched with pride as Tara captivated the assembly, her alien beauty and regal bearing drawing all eyes to her. "We stand at a crossroads," Tara said, her voice ringing through the chamber. "We can choose to live in fear of our differences, or we can embrace them and forge a new path together." On Laodicea, they stood before the great conclave, the planet's ruling body. Justin felt the weight of countless alien eyes upon him as he spoke. "Our two species have more in common than we ever realized," he said, gesturing to the stars visible through the crystalline dome above. "We share the same curiosity, the same drive to explore and understand the universe around us. Together, we can go further than either of us could alone." As they worked, Justin and Tara's bond grew stronger. In quiet moments between meetings and speeches, they found solace in each other's company. They shared stories of their childhoods, their hopes and dreams, and their vision for the future they were fighting to create. One evening, as they stood on a balcony overlooking the glittering spires of the Laodician capital, Tara turned to Justin, her scales shimmering in the starlight. "Do you think we can really do this?" she asked, a rare moment of vulnerability in her voice. "Create a lasting peace between our peoples?" Justin pulled her close, feeling the familiar warmth of her body against his. "I do," he said softly, "because we've already done the impossible. We found love across the stars." Tara's eyes sparkled with emotion as she leaned in, pressing her forehead against his in a gesture of deep affection. In that moment, under an alien sky, they renewed their silent commitment to each other and to the future they were fighting to build. As the weeks turned to months, their efforts began to bear fruit. Support for the Alliance grew on both worlds, fueled by the story of their unlikely love and the possibilities it represented. Finally, the day arrived for the official formation of the Earth-Laodician Alliance. The ceremony was to be held on the very space station where the ill-fated peace conference had taken place, now a symbol of the new era they were entering. As Justin and Tara prepared to leave for the station, they paused for a moment in their quarters. Justin adjusted his formal Earth military uniform, while Tara smoothed the shimmering fabric of her royal Laodician robes. "Ready to make history?" Justin asked, offering his arm to Tara. She took it, her scales cool against his skin. "With you, always." Together they stepped out to face the future they had fought so hard to create, their love a beacon of hope for two worlds on the brink of a new age of cooperation and understanding.
If you finished this story, please subscribe and like the video. Then leave a comment that says, "I liked the story," and I will heart every single one of them. It really helps me. Thank you for your time.